City of Stevens Point Board of Water and Sewerage Commissioners meeting, recorded July 13, 2020.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending. It now says 12 noon on my computer here. So, Joel, I guess we'll begin.
Sounds good.
First item of business, as always, is the approval of the June 8th meeting. Are there any qualifiers or suggestions or changes? If not, a motion is in order.
Move to approve. This is Carl.
Anna.
Second, Ray.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. For the rest of you who didn't hear, even my brainiac daughter couldn't get my ugly mug on the computer here, so that's why you don't see me. There's something wrong with my computer, even though it's not even a year old. I just think the camera doesn't like me. So anyway, onward for department claims. As usual, we do the water department first. Any questions?
Carl, I had a question on 54304. Baker Tilly for audit charges. Is that just a follow-up closeout or on 2019?
We've got to be getting near the end there. Mary, do you have any comment you want to make on that? I know she had another meeting going on at the same time, might not be able to comment, but.
Yes, those are the 2019 charges.
But certainly not their total, is it? I mean,
no, they do a couple partial billings just based on the hours that they work. So that is that's the lion's share, though. I believe there may be like one other bill when they come to do the presentation for the commission.
okay, thank you.
And just a note for everybody too, May is on now.
Welcome, May.
Hello.
Hello. I assume 54315 is that conduit arrangement that we have where we're paying this fiber optic organization and then we get reimbursed?
That's right.
I've got a question on 54307. How many face masks do we get for $32.50? Not many, I bet.
I actually don't know. Mary, do you recall how many were in that order?
I believe 50.
Oh.
Those are more the surgical style, not N95 or anything like that.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, we can buy them through the WBA for 50 cents a piece. So that doesn't surprise me. Any other questions about the water department claims? If not, let's go on to sewage. Any questions there? If not,
Well, this is Carl. Just one on 34606. I see the transit department. Are they have the lawnmowers or?
Well, what we do is we share summer interns, and water in this case would have been, let's see, no, this is wastewater paying water, I would imagine. No, paying transit, sorry. Yeah, we share interns. So the work that they put in at whatever department it is, you know, that department pays the hours for the interns and their work. So in this case, the main payroll for that individual is paid out of transit.
Does transit have the equipment or is it just?
They do. Yeah, they have their own, we have our own, so it just depends on what's going on. They work together at sometimes.
Okay. I know that Park and Rec used to do some of the boulevards and things around the campus.
I would imagine it might have something to do with availability of personnel amongst.
Yeah, and we get into it too where you have to be, I think 18 to leave our property, 17 or 18 to leave our property in a city-owned truck. So we have two different summer guys right now, and they get together on certain days to go hit the off-site locations, and one of them drives, and they kind of team up. One mows, one weed whips, that kind of thing. So it was probably on a coordinated day like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the sewage department claims? If not, we'll go on to stormwater. Doesn't seem like there's anything too out of the ordinary there. Anybody else have comments or questions? Okay, if not, motion to approve all three sets of claims is in order.
This is Anna. I'll move approval.
Second, Nachman.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carried. I don't know, you guys got these agendas all mixed up here. We got things, I know you mentioned the last time you changed them because of some software, but I know you accustomed to having Eric later in the meeting rather so far in front for the water supply and distribution report. Go ahead, Eric.
Sure. Besides just the pumpage from this last month, it looked like almost identical to last year. One thing I did want to bring up, I don't know if you guys have questions on that, but you asked about the well 11 roof. And so I met with a different roofing contractor recommended by a separate engineering firm last week or the week before at well 11. And he's putting together a pretty detailed document on what he's found and what he'd recommend as a roofing contractor for our facility. So we can go forward with that here within probably the next year to get that replaced. And I don't know if it's going to come to legal terms, but we are moving forward with that. So just an update on that.
I hope we don't have any mold issues over there because of the amount of time that it was leaking, do we?
No, we actually took a couple core samples. We cut the rubber membrane, looked at the foam. It was relatively dry. There are a couple spots when we do get some torrential rain, it does come in, but I feel like that must at least alleviate itself throughout the rest of the year. It doesn't look like it's anything too pressing right now.
Well, I would imagine he would include some reference to that in one way, shape, or form in his final report.
Yes, you bet.
When you communicate with him, Chris, between now and then, make sure that he gets that message, please.
We will. So that's
Okay.
one update. Go ahead.
If you got more.
Sure. The other thing is the Fremont Street project is in full swing. They're pouring curb and gutter on Fremont Street, and utilities are complete all the way up Fremont Street and 4th Avenue to the north. And they're headed up Illinois today with water main. Should be on the side streets starting later this week, and it looks like they're almost ahead of schedule for utilities. So maybe like a mid-early August completion on all of the utility side of that. That's all I had for utility water work.
Very good. Thanks, Chris. Collection system. Is Craig with us or not?
We got to go to 4 first.
Oh,
Chris
sorry.
first. Yep. That was Eric. Yep.
All right.
All right. The wastewater plant met all of our permit requirements for the month of June. The projects are all coming to a close here, which is nice to finally see, getting some completed work done. The only thing left on site here, they've got to get the roof onto the existing digester complex. So the one right up towards Bliss Avenue. That's work's actually going to start on Wednesday, and it will be done by the 24th of July. After that, the only things we'll have left on either of those projects are punch list items. So just things that we didn't, some things that needed to be cleaned up a little bit. Other than that, I've got a couple other things to talk about later, but that's all I've got for right now.
Nothing unusual.
Nope.
What about the issue with our methane, we're not methane producing, but our methane burning equipment? Is that all back on track?
Methane burning, you're talking.
The cogen?
The cogen system. Cogen is running our biogas engine, so the combined heat and power unit's running roughly 50% is where we can run it right now. That's been running pretty steady for probably about a month now, I would think. I didn't look into how much power we've produced this month or this last month because we didn't run the whole month. But I will definitely have that on the agenda for next month.
Because we had some mechanical issues there for quite some time, and I'm assuming that we're getting back to normal.
Getting back to where we were before we shut down, yes. We still have some mechanical issues going on. The unit has a tendency to overheat. The radiator, I believe it's a double stacked radiator, so there's a space between the two radiators that you can't clean. I believe that is plugged with cottonwood. So we're going to have to figure out some way to get that cleaned out. That's why we're only able to run at 50% right now. Other than that, everything seems to be running pretty well.
Very good. I was so proud of what you guys were doing there when we were actually generating more electricity than we were using. That's been a project that I kind of adopted. So I'd appreciate a report when we are back up to 100% of what we were using it for previously.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
This is Carl. I had a question on page 17. And it looks like the phosphorus level that's coming in for April, May, and June is significantly lower than what had been doing on a monthly basis before. And anything in particular that's attributed to? Is that the waste delivery that we're picking up from the pumping?
I believe this has something to do with a combination of brewery activities as well as the schools shutting down because of COVID. That all lines up with that very well. So that's in pounds. So you can definitely see there's definitely a difference. I'm just glancing at it real quick. It appears that our raw BOD went down as well. Just taking a quick glance at it, might not be as substantial, but it definitely did drop. I would probably look in that direction as to why that would have happened. Mainly brewery and just university, as well as even the high school shutting down. It brings a lot of people into town, a lot of food processing into town, stuff that isn't happening right now.
I was just curious why, like March wouldn't have also shown up with that effect as well.
Yeah, depending on, I don't remember when the schools shut down. I'll take a look at it and I'll see if I can figure something out. But off the top of my head, that's what I would be looking at.
Sure.
It's something to do with the shutdown.
Okay.
The schools closed on March 13th. I painfully know because my wife was being combination teacher and babysitter from that date forward.
Okay.
All right. Can we go on to item number 5?
I've got a question on, last time we met, we talked about odor control. Are we
Yep.
up to snuff on that?
The person who was coming to the lab testing came and did it. So we have the lab data. It's raw data, so it doesn't mean a whole lot to anybody who doesn't really know odors. But that was sent off by our engineers, Donahue and Associates, to a couple different vendors that specialize in odor control. So they're getting us some ideas as to what we might need or what they could take the levels to, and figuring out from there whether or not it's something we're going to pursue right away or something that we're going to hold off on for a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
I'm glad you keep bringing that back, Ray. I'm going to be curious to see what the final results are on that. So, all right, now let's do collection system maintenance report.
Everything seems to be going fine. Getting a lot of potholes showing up next to manholes because of the amount of water we're getting. Finding all of our flaws and stuff in our manhole rings and manholes themselves. So then, been fairly busy just keeping up with that stuff.
I apologize if this question was asked at a previous meeting and I've forgotten, but I see on your report that there was, I know that our city has been doing some work for Junction City in the past. How do we make arrangements to get reimbursed for that, or what's the detail on that?
I can handle part of that. A lot of times when they call, there's some urgency to it. They know that our position is, hey, if there's things that can be planned and scheduled with a contractor, that's the appropriate way to do it. But we always want to be there as a good neighbor to help out in a pinch. So they understand that when they call looking for help, that there's going to be a bill that accompanies that later on. So it's been a pretty clear relationship.
I think we want to be careful about that for fear that somebody might, well, you know what I mean. So,
yeah, and we actually are, that's what I was alluding to when we try to make that pretty clear. It's to say, hey, you know, if there's something that could result in a backup or something and you can't get somebody out, or we have an expertise that there isn't available in a local contractor, then, you know, we're willing to do that. And we've accounted for that already in years past, and it can be we can lean on the agreements we've made through the WARN documents. It doesn't always have to be a huge accident for us to say we've had this resolution acted on, this agreement signed that states that when we get help or when we help others, this is how it works. So I think we've accounted for all the things we need to there.
Very good. Okay. Stormwater. Or did you cover that already, Craig?
Anything to add on
Well,
stormwater?
we just got a couple little projects that we're looking to, now that the lift station is finished on Echo Dells, we were kind of waiting to do a nice little project there. Now, good, we didn't want to do it until the lift station was installed to prevent any damage to the new infrastructure, and also one on the west side. But there again, the same thing with the sanitary manholes. There's a lot of rain, finding a lot of catch basin deep flaws in the structures and that kind of stuff. So keeping our people pretty busy.
All right. Joel, what's the update on the community area network?
So the project for the schools, the conduit is in. That was quite a bit of conduit. They're kind of moving over to installing fiber through the conduit here soon. Most of the materials are in. They had some stuff that didn't test out when it got on site, so it had to be reordered. So there's several $100,000 somewhere. You know, we're probably almost 75% of the way through the project from a dollars and cents perspective. That might be off a little, but the real expensive part of the work anyway is a lot of it's in. So we're getting near the end there, and then a lot of work in the buildings will have to take place where you terminate the fiber to what we call the demarc, and that's where we'll hand it off to the schools. So it's going well.
Thank you. Chris, when you talk about this approval for the pipe work at the industrial lift station, could you remind us who don't have it all memorized, like staff sure does, where the #1 lift station is located?
Absolutely. All right. So what we've got is we've got the Industrial Park Drive lift station, which is on Industrial Park Drive right by the old Figgy's building down in the right on the east side of the Plover River, coming across the Patch Street Bridge on the north side of the road there. Concrete building. There's actually 2 lift stations there, one on the east side, one on the west side of that building. The older lift station, which is the one on the west side, which is lift station number 1, was rebuilt when that new station was put in 2010. But all they did was pumps and controls. So they moved all the electrical upstairs up into the building and then put new pumps in. What they didn't do is changing out the piping and the valves. As with everything mechanical, things break and things go wrong. We've actually got to the point now where we've got those pumps from 2010 need to be pulled and rebuilt. They need to be taken down to Madison to be rebuilt. And in the process, when we pull them, it will leave a open hole in the pipe. If those valves don't hold, which they're not holding, water will seep back into that station and slowly fill it. It'll actually fill it at a rate faster than what our sump pump can take it out. What we do have the ability to do there is close a main gate and send the flow all over to the other lift station. The problem is that gate may not hold 100%. You end up, anytime you're dealing with wastewater, you're pushing a stop gate against the floor. If there's any rags or any debris built up, it won't seal perfectly. So we'll end up with some water getting in there. So while we're taking these pumps out, they're going to have to be out for probably about 3 weeks. We're looking to replace the isolation valves and the check valves at the same time, as during that same amount of time. That way we can have, when these pumps come back, we can have a lift station that's not flooded. And then we can also have isolation valves and check valves as the stations were intended. We've done some pricing out of equipment as it is. To get the replacement valves, it should be just under $10,000 after everything's delivered and on site. And then the lowest quote we were able to get for the piping install and the valve and piping install is $6,750. I think these prices are pretty good. The quotes that we've been getting back are pretty tight. So I think the pricing is pretty solid.
So does that $16,750 include the work that has to be redone in Madison?
No, that does not include the rebuild of the motors.
And any guesstimate as to how much that's going to be?
That I don't have right off the top of my head. I would say probably $1,000 to $2,000 per motor. And there's
then wouldn't it make sense to include in the motion the fact that that additional cost would need to be approved as well, and just round the number up to 20,000?
We can do that.
That makes sense, Joel?
Yeah, the reason it wasn't necessarily in there is because this is kind of one scope of things on a project that exceeds what we would typically just administratively approve. The rebuild of a motor on a pump is something that happens pretty frequently around here, and it's really an operational and maintenance expense that is considered routine. And this isn't super routine, so we wanted to get the permission we needed for this. It makes perfect sense to include a recognition of the cost of the rebuild of the pumps if you'd like. But if you don't, I also feel comfortable that it's things that we've discussed in the past that are within our ability just operationally to approve.
Oh, I'll correct myself and say if we should try to stay consistent, and if what you just explained makes sense, that would come out of a different line item. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the $16,750.
I'll move to approve. Ray.
Carl, I'll second.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I have a little follow-up question. Is 10 years a normal amount of time for pumps to be in service before they have to be rebuilt?
Depending on the environment they're in, yeah, that seems like they're normally a 20-year life expectancy when they're put in. So of the life of the pump. It's actually an electrical issue that caused this. I believe it was due to lightning. That's what I'm being told anyway.
Okay.
So it's actually in with the motors themselves of the pumps, but they're all one unit, so they all have to get pulled as one.
Gotcha. I was just thinking, 10 years down the road, we just replaced a bunch of lift stations, and are we going to be looking at that as an expected maintenance 10 years from now?
I don't think so. I think these things are normally pretty solid. They're in a great environment for what they do. Like I said, I think it was just a lightning storm, or that's what I'm being told anyway, that would have caused this issue.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Now seems like every 6 months we're upgrading our servers and other computer equipment. This is the latest proposal. Joel, you're going to handle that?
Yeah, and in fact, I agree. It seems like it's all too often. I'm pretty sure that at some time in the past, we talked about the scope of services, and then we came into an environment where we've got something a little different going on. We've got a city IT guy that's new now. We're probably in the process of figuring that out at the time. He got a new scope of services, or the same scope of services acted on or returned by another company here. You can see Heartland Business Systems, and this is actually around $8,000 cheaper than one of our others. So this isn't duplication of some past conversations, and I couldn't see it in the capital. So I think what we did is we had an item just like this one mid-year in the past that was probably more than this. So this looks good. What it basically does is, if you look in this end of things, you see where everything here says Windows Server 2019. We have several of our servers that aren't running the most current operating system that they can. And in order to get some of the citywide resources working well together, we all need to be on the same page. And the newer versioning keeps us a little more secure too. So this is a good thing. I think it's actually a money saving endeavor versus a spending one, because I think I had previous permission to do this at a higher dollar amount. So that's where we stand there, just to approve this scope at $11,053 or so.
Well, it's pretty hard to get things done on IT on a timely basis if you don't have a city IT guy. So, I mean,
yeah.
So a motion is in order, please.
So moved, Nachman.
I'll second Ray.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye. Aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carried. And now we're on to this reclassification of the superintendent position. Joel?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a two-step process, but I figured it's either all go or no go. And for your information, this will also be seen at the Personnel Committee tonight. They have the same two memos. I'll get down to them here. The first one is for a request to reclassify. The way this goes in the city is I submit things to the personnel manager, HR manager, related to reclassifications. I did that. She submitted that info to our consulting, what do we call them? It's basically our pay plan consultant. I guess in the second paragraph there, I say salary plan consultant. She came back with the changes to the job description, moving it from grade O on the pay plan to grade S on the pay plan. You'll see at the end of paragraph 2 there that the impact of that change at step 1 is $16,000, and at step 6, which is our control point for the pay plan, that's when you do things like market rate analysis and everything, and you consider something full wage. That's step 6 on our pay plan. That dollar amount, which is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's 7 years or 8 years into the plan. That's a $18,000 difference between these two grades. What this does is assigns some different responsibilities and moves around some responsibilities in the department to respond to the pretty considerable changes we've been through here in the last many years. A number of you have been through the, well, I shouldn't say a number. Now we have to go back to 2008 to start the time when we took over the collection system. Go back to 2013 when we started the stormwater utility. That same year we took on some other things in the office as it relates to transit and airport, but also now there's the fiber optic component of this. So really what this does is realign some of the responsibilities among two superintendents here, and submitting that reclassification, they determined that that position belongs where the other two superintendents are. So that's the other relevant thing here is that just for your information, that does put what I'm calling the construction and maintenance superintendent on an even grade with water superintendent and the wastewater superintendent. So that's what this is about. Should I just get right into the second memo then?
Sure.
Okay.
I assume
So
you excuse me, but I assume you've had this discussion with the mayor as well?
Yeah, right. Yep. It all really starts there. When you have a proposal like this, it starts with the mayor and HR saying, hey, you know, we've had plenty of time to evaluate the departmental need in this position, and here's what we'd like to do. And kind of the reallocation of some duties works out really well in this case, makes for some very straightforward responsibilities in the department. And then the second part of this, we actually have a city policy to promote from within when possible. And I'm happy to say we do have interested parties internally here, and we have qualified individuals in-house here. So the second part of this is just really seeking permission to do that. Pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to be clear about it at the same time.
All right, any questions? This is pretty, what I would refer to as routine and boilerplate, is it not, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, we don't do a ton of reclassification, but I would agree that it is pretty routine and boilerplate as it gets for this type of thing. And I think the flexibility to respond to changes in the departmental structure are very appropriate. And this one is one that I think just makes a lot of sense.
Ultimately, does the personnel department make the decision, or is it the common council?
Ultimately, it's the common council. I like to bring these things to the commission because the commission is charged with the entire operation of the utilities. But for some years now, roughly 21 years, personnel has also been acting on things that affect on a citywide level related to hires and you know, pay plan adjustments. You know, those have only been around since 2010 and then 2013. So we kind of act jointly on this stuff, but the ultimate decision is that of the council based on recommendation from this body and personnel. So at personnel tonight, when this item comes up, I'll stand up and inform them of the direction that you've recommended.
So we need a motion and a second.
I've got a question on the letter, reclassification. It says that, oh, no, I lost it. I'll get there. It says a new job description and organizational chart are both included for your reference. And I don't see that here with the stuff we got. I apologize. I apologize for that line. Actually, those things go to HR in order to aid the pay plan consultant in their understanding and decision making. So I wrote the memo while I was handing all that out, but then I was informed that I don't hand those out as part of the meeting process. So that's my error. That's no problem. I was just trying to make sure that I didn't miss it.
No.
Okay.
So I think unless there's other questions, a motion is in order to approve the reclassification and the management level position.
I'll move for approval. Ray?
Hannah will second.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Chris, the CMAR looks to be pretty much the same as it has been annually.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty similar. We do have the one response that's required due to a sanitary sewer overflow. That was, I don't remember exactly how that wasn't on my end. Believe that was a, Craig or Joel, you want to take a stab at what that one is?
That the reportable event there was related to a part of the pressure system that's out in Eagle Point subdivision breaking and finding its way to the surface. It was a pretty small amount, but reportable nonetheless. And, about all we can do is tell them that we're going to continue maintenance and observations to avoid that in the future.
Well, grade point average of 4.00 is about as good as you can get. So do we have to have a motion on this, or is this just reportable?
I would appreciate a motion, because what we have, it's kind of confusing. On their side, they call it a resolution, but it's not a resolution by the same definition of a city. So once this board basically just recognizes, approves, or whatever you want to do with the annual report, then we can note that.
All right, motion's in order.
Move to approve. This is Carl.
Second, this is May.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Well, I've never seen a $7,951 water heater, but I guess if we have to have it, we have to have it.
I had a question on that.
Sure.
Are there no on-demand water heaters available that will fit this need?
Yeah, so we looked into that too, Ray. We need 2 of them, twins, and for us to pipe those in for the amount of time we need water for at that demand, it'd be just as expensive, if not more. So we just decided to go with what works, and we know that it meets requirements of the direct replacement.
Okay.
Just to ease everybody's mind there, we looked at every cheaper alternative we had there, and in the end came back to the fact that there were some regulations related to eye wash stations and showers and things like that we couldn't get around in a legitimate way. So it came back to, well, there's a reason it was designed there in the first place. I mean, it looks ridiculous when you go into the building and see this huge water heater standing there to begin with, because nobody occupies that building, but there's chemicals there. We do have staff that goes in there. So, yeah.
2 eye wash showers and sinks there. So we do need like 1.25 inch line supplying both of them, which also means we need the higher gallons per minute to feed those. And so we need 300 gallons of total hot water in 15 minutes.
Wow.
So normal 40-gallon water heater that we thought we could just plumb in ourselves wouldn't work, and we'd hate to put one in and it'll work and then get pitched by the DNR on an inspection here in the next couple of years.
Well, I apologize for being so flippant about it. Now that you've given us more detail on it, it's one of those OSHA things that, you're putting employees in harm's way, and what are the chances of it being used? Slim, but when you need it, you need it. So
Yeah,
motion is in order.
we felt the same way.
I'll move for approval. Ray.
This is Carl. I'll second.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Joel, any other reports?
Just one, nothing written. I just want to mention real quick, and everything that everybody's dealing with here, and the reason we're meeting by Zoom. The office here continues to operate just fine with the door closed. The few customers that needed a little time to get used to it have gotten used to it. We're doing all our business either through the night drop, through the phone, or by mail or email. So everything's adapted really well there. Staff out and about in the field who have common meeting places have made the effort they need to do the proper distancing, and have come doing a good job with that. And so we're going to stay the course here on that until there's, pretty solid evidence that something to the contrary is appropriate. So just, that's really my only update.
Very good. Glad to hear all that. All right, a motion to adjourn is in order.
I'll move to adjourn. Ray.
All those in favor signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.